Okay, welcome to the stream. So Mike Pence, absolutely pathetic. He decided to now go on and side with Disney of all people. Forget Disney of all people, and say them attacking kids, them trying to sexualize kids, them trying to turn them trans by pushing this agenda is not good for Ron DeSantis to go after them, to take governmental action against them. I do agree that we should have less government, but I do not agree that we should allow people to attack our kids. It's more detrimental to our society to have an atheistic, godless world where kids are all transitioning and they're all regretting it and they cannot untransition and they live terribly for the rest of their lives, than a little more government restriction on Disney. Okay, it's a much worse world, but let's get into it.
Interests of the people of any state for a government to essentially go after a business that they disagreed with on a political issue. I disagree with Florida moving against Walt Disney. I disagree with California moving against Walgreens because they're going to obey the law about abortifacients in some 20 states, so they're going to cancel a $120 million project. Look, at the end of the day, the business of America is business, and I'm not terribly surprised to see Disney canceling a $1 billion contract that's only going to harm people in the Orlando and Florida area, and it's one more reason why, as a limited government conservative, I've said for months now that I think both sides ought to stand down, take the victory for parents' rights in the legislature, and move on.
Now, before Matt Walsh gets in, let's realize one thing. Those are completely different. How is Walgreens disagreeing with California politically the same thing as freaking the Disney going after our kids, trying to sexualize them, going after our kids in a way where they are trying to force them to transition? They are pushing pride on our kids. They're pushing degeneracy, mind my stutter, on our kids. They're pushing all these things on our kids, and you don't think we should take any slight action on that? Slight action. You can disagree with California. I disagree with California. I don't think we should force any woke companies that we disagree politically on. I think if somebody says, yeah, I think we should have open borders, yeah, we should not cancel that. But if somebody is actively going in after and attacking our kids, we should absolutely go after them. We should absolutely limit them because they are attacking us. They are absolutely going against us governmentally. They are using their resources against us. So why should we not use our resources against them to combat them in this culture war? I don't get it. And as Matt Walsh is about to say, it's absolutely pathetic of him. He is now selling out for the check. He's trying to get these Democrats to give him the check. He's trying to get more checks and endorsements for his running. Okay, he's trying to run, I think, for president, or he's positioning himself to run for president. So he's now selling out for a quick buck. He's now selling out to try to get them to donate to him. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. And he's a spineless coward. That's what I think. He is siding with the people that are trying to attack us in the culture war. He's siding with these people to get money. How can you still say that you are a Republican? How can you still say you are fighting this culture war when you are bending the knee? You are bowing down to these people. You are literally kissing their feet so you can get some money. Absolutely pathetic.
Pathetic. And
yeah, pathetic. Yeah, it makes no sense. Those things do not correlate, number one. And number two, why are you bowing to them? They hate you. Why are you bowing to them? You were just bowing them for a quick check. It's absolutely pathetic. We thought we still had something good with him. I liked his side when he said, no, I'm not going to do illegal things to ensure that you win this, and I'm not going to overthrow the election. That was a great move on Mike Pence. But now he's revolting. He's going against it. He could have been a great candidate for vice or president, but now he's going against himself or any other area of politicalness. I don't know, but now he's going against himself, and now he's literally siding with our enemies. Before he had a good thing, but now he's going against it, and correlating that with California actually hurting us, actually going against that company that disagree with them politically, not them attacking California, mind you, is a complete robust, disgusting correlation, because they do not compare at all. Them trying to transition our kids and make them live a horrible life and make them regret their decisions does not correlate with anything at all. How does it? How does it? And why do you believe we should not take action against that? That's the most spineless thing ever. They're just selling out to the media. They're just selling out to Disney, and they're trying to get a quick check because they need their money. Because he is no longer running with Trump, who was basically his trust fund daddy, I believe now, since we are seeing this. He's just selling his soul to the left. He's just selling his soul to the devil, and he's just selling it to the people trying to sexualize their kids. What the frick? Like, he's just wrong for this. It's just wrong. Nobody should endorse us, man. He should be disavowed because he is true. I'm not saying we should cancel him, but I'm saying we should not vote for him because he is trying to basically bow to them. How can we trust somebody that is basically acting like Joe Biden, as he has bowed to NATO, as he has basically let Russia manhandle him in the discussions? How can we trust somebody to be firm in those when he is not even firm when in money situations, when he is not even firm when he doesn't even need to be firm? We cannot. So we should not vote for Mike Pence. We should disavow him. This was just disgusting. This was just cowardly, and this was simply, as he said, pathetic. Now let's move on. Let's see why the fat acceptance destructs itself. Why its unhealthy movement attacks its activists.
I haven't done a body positive video in kind of a while, and I wanted to sit down today and film one. I'm not feeling good. I don't know when we're gonna be able to just stop differentiating between plus size and normal. Size 14 is not the health standard.
Yes, it is the health standard, number one. And number two, this is exactly what happens when you are a fat activist. This is exactly what happens when you decide to go with this movement. It will destroy you. It will destroy you. It only gets you fatter. The more self-delusion you believe, the worse down the rabbit hole you go. And the worse down the rabbit hole you go, the more unhealthy you get. The more joint pains you get. The more likely you are to have dementia when you get older. The more likely you are to live an unhealthy, bad lifestyle. And the more likely you are to die younger. Joint pains are not fun, okay? Living this unhealthy, obese lifestyle is not fun, and coping for it and saying, I don't have to lose weight, it's everybody else's fault, the society around me, and blaming everybody else will get you nowhere. You need to help yourself, and coping in this manner will not help you at all, lady, which is why you have had such a downfall. Even though you were fat before, now you are severely obese, and it's going to hurt your health significantly. As we've seen people try to cancel that lady who's the pioneer of this movement. When she comes out, it's not all that. It's not all that. Being fat isn't all that. And being in this movement will only hurt you. I just want to show how she is basically showing with video evidence how this movement is terrible for your health and terrible for you. It's basically showing how even being involved in this movement itself, being a fat activist, being fat, is just not good for you. And it destroys you. It literally does. It will destroy you. You will get destroyed by this movement and living in this delusion. Okay, so do not follow it. This is exactly what my problem is with it. And this is what exactly I've stated many, many, many times. Exactly what I have suffered in this area. When you believe these delusional things that society tells you, you will go worse. Your life will get worse. You'll get depressed. It's only when you are trying to get better. It is only when you're trying to get fitter. It is only when you're trying to follow God and not be a degenerate fat loser that you will find meaning. You will not find meaning in this. You will only find depression, loneliness, and sadness. You realize that the people who cope for you, and people say, no, you're not that fat, it's okay, accept yourself, they don't really care, and they won't come to save you. You have to save yourself, and you have to trust God and follow God to save you, because you cannot do it just on yourself, but you also cannot let other people do it for you because nobody is coming to save you. Why do you think these people that are engaged in these movements often just go on and they think that society is the fault? Society is the reason I'm gay. Basically, society is the reason I'm fat. It was the waffle that came in my mouth. I did not eat the waffle. The cake, it's donut's fault. I'm fat. Basically, the Homer Simpson quote. But it's true. It's true. They believe these things and they're so idiotical. Why do I have to drive an hour to find some plus size clothing? Maybe that's a sign that you should not be fat. Maybe that's a sign you should get healthier. And it's really true. Their own movement destructs themselves. So yeah, next. Let's go on to the next. Okay. Here's the thing. Playing with fire. Dating coach. He made this horrible cup. Terrible cup. And he used old studies to justify his degeneracy and body count. Let's look at it.
We're going to analyze on whether a woman's body count matters when it comes to her desirability as a partner and the stability of a relationship. And we're going to really dig deep into the science here and look at the study to get to the real truth on this controversial topic. So this is a topic that's very frequently discussed in the manosphere, and honestly one that I think the vast majority of people are wrong about. So on the left, or the blue pillars, they say, oh, it's none of your business. A woman's body count doesn't matter at all. But the science kind of contradicts that. But then on the other end of the spectrum, in the red pill manosphere, you have guys who have dumb sayings like no hymen, no diamond, and a woman's body count really matters because the more bodies she has, the less likely she is to be a good, stable wife, the more likely she is to divorce you, right? And this is based on a famous study from the Institute of Family Studies. But once you actually dig deep into the study, you realize that the truth is not so simple. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to give you overall my opinion at the end. So this is again from the IFS, and it says the chance of divorce after 5 years of marriage. So we're going to look at the graph in the yellow because that is from 2000s and up, right? So this is very interesting. So a woman who has 0 partners has only a 5% chance of divorcing you after 5 years of marriage. And again, this is all based on averages. I'm sure there are some girls who are more, some less, blah, blah. This is all based on averages. Once we get to 1 partner, that number jumps to 20%, right? So a woman who has had 1 sexual partner is, I guess, 4 times more likely divorcing the girls had 0 sexual partners. Then once we get to 2 partners, it goes all the way up to 30. So that is a significant difference. However, here's where things get very, very interesting. Once we go from 2 partners to 3 partners, actually the chance of divorce goes down by 4.5%. When we go from 3 partners to 4 to 5 partners, it further goes down to like about 24%. So that is 6% less than a woman who is at 2 partners. Actually, that's not correct. It's not 6% less. It's much more than that. But again, you see, we're talking about an overall. So it's a pretty noticeable downward trend. Then once we go from 4 to 5 partners to 6 to 9 partners, it slightly goes up to slightly higher than 25%. And then when we get to 10 plus partners, only then does the chance of her divorcing you become higher than the girls at 2 partners, right? So this is very interesting, right? So you would think that if, there's something about a girl having sex with 1 additional guy that caused her to be more likely to, divorce you, right? That you would see the trend going like this, or at the very least it would be like this. But you
Or are you just using this as an excuse to date these promiscuous women? Are you just using this as an excuse, using this old study to date these promiscuous women? Let's update it. Bruv. Frick this. My Daily Mail messed up. Okay. So from the Daily Mail, one of the most liberal sites out there, or probably more lenient, but it's also very liberal. They cite this newest study, which actually does show the more partners you get, the worse it gets. The more partners you have, the more sexual partners you have, the more likely you are to a divorce. How many is too many? Experts reveal the number of sexual partners you've had determine how likely you are to get divorced. University of Utah's research studied a link between premarital sex and divorce. It looked at a 5-year divorce rates and how many sexual partners women had. Since 2000, women with 10 or more partners were the most likely to divorce. He kind of stated that, but he also tried to state that if you have 4 or 5, then that means that it's a little less. But it also still increases in his own study, which is, he's trying to cope there too, but he's also trying to cope by showing old studies that have no meaning at all. A study has found how the number of sexual partners you've had determine whether your marriage will last. Nicholas H. Wolfinger, professor of Family and Consumer Studies at the University of Utah, studied statistics I cannot say that word from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention's National Survey of Family Growth going as far back as the 1970s. He looked at the divorce rate after 5 years of marriage and the number of sexual partners American women had before tying the knot. The study found that for women marrying since 2000, those with 10 or more partners were more likely to divorce. But Professor Wolfgang says this is only became true in recent years. The highest 5-year divorce rates of all are associated with marrying the 2000 and having 10 or more premarital sex partners, 33%, he wrote in the report. Perhaps it is not unexpected that having many partners increases the odds of divorce. The greatest surprise is that it only holds true in recent years. Previously, women with 2 partners prior to marriage had the highest divorce rates. He also determined that women with 3 to 9 partners were less likely to divorce than women with only 2 sexual partners before marriage. And women who are virgins in their wedding rite were the least likely to get divorced. According to the study, it found only 5% of women who had 0 sexual partners had marriages and ended in divorce. Professor Wolfinger, explaining the findings by noting that one of the most common reasons for abstinence before marriage was for religious reasons. He said women who married as virgins were far more likely to attend church at least once a week. These findings make sense in light of the fact that people who attend church frequently have lower divorce rates than do non-participants, he added. Professor Wolfinger noted that although more women are having premarital sex now than in the 1970s, but that the rate of divorce has also increased similarly. Earlier research found that having multiple sex partners prior to marriage could lead to less happy marriages and often increase the odds of divorce, he wrote. But sexual attitudes and behaviors change in America as feminist. He added, it won't be surprising to the readers that people with more premarital sex partners have higher divorce rates, broadly speaking. That said, this research, whatever the frick, between sex, bad. Okay, let's realize one thing, guys. Let's realize one thing. One thing where it comes. Let's realize it. It's quite simple. Okay, it's quite simple. People in studies, when you ask them how many sexual partners they have, they tell you what they want to be public. They do not tell you the truth all the time. So there is no true things in studies. Some things in studies can be very true, but also some things in studies can be very, very, very incorrect. Because a lot of times people will just tell you what they want other people to hear. Do you really think that they want their mom to know after they read the study that they had this, or they want to taint their group as bad? No, they'll only tell you what they want you to hear. So these studies cannot always be trusted because these studies only show what you want to hear. Like they literally, this is so loaded. This is so loaded because they said, although there was a less likely divorce rate, that it's different because it's the same in this and this. Even though it proved that when there were more virgins, when there were less people having sex before marriage, when there were actually people that had less sexual partners, the divorce rate was lower. It's with the culture of the sexual movement, of this feminism also, but it's also with the fact that it's bad for you. Having more sexual partners is bad for you, men and women. Although it's worse on the women's spectrum, it also counts for the men's spectrum, and it's terrible, and it could cause major mental illness and issues, and it could cause major issues within your marriage and relationship. So yes, it is horrible for you. Yes, it is horrible for you. Let's be honest for a second. It is definitely horrible for you because when you compare the data of divorce rates when there were less sexual partners and divorce rate now when there were more sexual partners, even though they were trying to ask people, how many partners did you have and how did that affect your thingy, they won't always tell the truth. And when you compare that data to the old data of when people were having less sex and the divorce rate, there is a clear and common trend here. There's a clear and common trend, which means that they have to be correlated. So this is load from the Daily Mail, and it is load from Playing with Fire, because he's just trying to cope for the women he has experiences with, and he's trying to cope for the women he is dating. He's trying to cope for his own degenerate lifestyle. So yeah, it's load. It's complete load, and not all these studies can be trusted. And when you see the common trend, you have to assume what is most likely reality, because it is reality, okay? Moving on, let's get into this. Okay, Leela Rose basically triggered Justin Waller, triggered Jay Waller, and he was like just mad. And then sometimes they put like shows of saying he destroyed her when she just destroyed him on his relationships, having multiple women, multiple wives, and that how it will affect him. He was literally sitting in opposite of her, trying to block her because of how much, like, how weirdly he felt to her and how much triggered he was. Like, it just showed how fragile he was. It just showed how fragile his ego was, and how her just saying, yeah, that might be not the healthiest, it might be terrible for your marriage, like, triggered him. And she absolutely destroyed him. It was great to see. Let's check it out.
Justin, do you ever see yourself getting married?
No, not on paper. No.
Bro, frick. This thing is like internet. Holy crap. If I reduce the pages. Okay.
Can I ask you one more question?
Fire away, honey.
Okay. If you have only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said, why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself. Thought
You're
something
a
was
man
wrong
of
with me.
self-control. You work out, you do business, and you can possess your own power and
It's just
direct it the way you want to direct it.
It's not how I am.
Do you think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not.
Okay.
I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying, but I'm not triggered. You know?
You are clearly triggered by her. You are clearly triggered by her. Wait, let me play this for a
No,
second.
you are. You're annoying.
You're annoying because you don't like my lifestyle. You sound like a gay. You sound like one of those LGBTQ people who say, if you don't agree with my lifestyle, you are a bigot and you're annoying and I hate you. This is what you sound like. This is what you sound like. Someone disagreeing with you shouldn't be annoying. You are clearly triggered. You are trying to block her with your body language. What the frick are you talking about? You are definitely triggered. You are so triggered. We can see it in your face. We can see it in the way you talk. We can see it in your body language. You are definitely triggered. We can tell you're triggered. And you are just condescending and rude. You are like that feminist that got kicked off before on that panel because you were just condescending. You were just rude, and you were just showing that you were triggered, and you lost the debate. You lost the debate because you let her emotionally control you. Oh, how alpha you are until somebody disagrees with you. Yes, and you are triggered, and two, she is not annoying. If anything, it's annoying how triggered you are because you're trying to display your dominance, but then you're letting a woman dominate you. The frick? Like, this is not alpha at all. This is not based. This is not red pilled. This is you being emotionally controlled by a woman. What? Like, literally, you are being controlled by this woman, and you're still saying that I'm not triggered because you don't want your red pillars to get mad at you. You don't want your fans to get mad at you for being triggered by a woman. I'm not triggered, but you're annoying. You are literally attacking her because you cannot attack her argument. That shows that you are triggered and you have nothing to say. Next.
There are 2,500 babies killed every day in this country because.
Next.
How do you think you're gonna get to the place of that marriage?
Oh, this is the one. Andrew Tate best friend grills Christian woman. It was her grilling him because he was the one triggered and emotionally controlled. But keep on, move on.
With that family and that lifelong love that you just.
I
talked
didn't
about.
say I didn't have family or children. I just said it
I
was none of
see.
your business.
Oh, I see. Okay.
None of your business. I'm not triggered, but it's none of your business. You sound like a triggered trans activist.
So you want to keep it private, is what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
what I
I
said.
understand.
Do you? Justin has
I
enemies.
might have multiple family.
Oh.
You never know. I might like family
And that is not healthy because that leads to terrible situations. You do know that, right?
more than you. So much I have five.
Do you think that's a good thing to have multiple families?
I think it's good if there's one dad and there's not a bunch of step parents involved, and the dad can be the hero, and those 5 families live a 10x better life than they would have otherwise. Yes, ma'am, I do.
But you don't think that it will be ultimately an opportunity for jealousy or disharmony among.
Oh, let's see how he calls from this. Also, it's funny how he's trying to remain very, yes, ma'am, this. Like, he's trying to remain very, like, polite, but he is still, like, being a jerk. And he is still being triggered. It makes all sense. And, Alpha Minds, 3T, he was not doing the grilling. He was getting grilled. Let's be honest. Look at him.
Women are always going to be jealous. What's changed
I'm not
about that?
jealous in
Women
my
have been jealous
marriage.
all the way through time. So
I'm not jealous in my marriage.
Well, I don't care about your marriage. I'm talking about mine.
Oh, I'm talking about mine. Me. Mine, me. Guys, he's triggered. He is so triggered. And you can so tell. Is it not obvious that he is triggered? He is so triggered. I'm not. It's not your business. I'm talking about me and mine. He is so triggered. You can tell by his voice. You can tell by his sentiment. You can tell by his body language and the way he's speaking to her. He is triggered. He's I didn't ask about your marriage. She is giving an example to contradict what you just said. So yes, it does matter about her marriage because you asked her, you said, women are always jealous in marriages. And she's like disproving you. So yeah, I'm not jealous in my marriage. Like that's all it is. It's just a rebuttal. You don't have to get so offensive, or not offensive. You don't have to get so offended by it. Yes, you are offended. Yes, you are triggered. Let's be honest. You are offended, triggered. We can see it in your sentiment. We can see it in your body language. We can see it in your face and the way you speak. I've said this a lot, but it's just so true. And I don't know why they're trying to say, I'm not offended, when you clearly are. And, like, it's just so weird. Like, yes, there are a lot of bad things that can happen with, even as a man, having a high body count. A lot of bad things, like more likely to divorce and other things that the woman faces issues with as well. And how are you going to time manage all those women when you have a ton of businesses to run? When you are trying to make that money for them? That's bound to go wrong, okay? That's bound to go wrong. And they're bound to get more jealous in those relationships than if you just had one woman. If you had one woman, she would not get jealous of you. Not get jealous at all. Probably. She's way less likely to get jealous than if you have 4 other wives.